Welcome to this presentation on seasonal affective disorder. I'm Lee McNeil. I'm the Strategic Engagement Lead here at the Resilience Hub, and I'm joined by my colleague, Rebecca Green, who's our Project Administrator. In this session, we're going to talk to you about what seasonal affective disorder is, how you can reach out for support, and also understanding different signs of depression. So these are our learning objectives as a whole, and it will be broken down through the presentation on different formats as well. So as we start the presentation, we asked our Twitter followers, those who suffer from SAD, to give us a quote on what they thought SAD is for them, just for them. So a lot of people mentioned it's like having your own portable black cloud. Some people mentioned, during this time, I feel down, upset, and ready to cry even the tiniest things. And then another quote we have there, in the weeks before the clocks go back, I start to feel sluggish and down. It's harder to keep my morning routine of going out for a walk before breakfast because it's wet, cold, and dark. So you might resonate with these quotes, and it might have an impact on you in terms of the clocks changing, the weather changing, darker mornings, darker evenings type of thing. And this is what we'll talk about during this presentation as well. So what is SAD? Essentially, SAD is a type of depression that comes and goes in patterns, if you would. And it's more commonly known by the effect of changing seasons and weather. So we have different types of the year where you might feel less comfortable. For example, you might find your mood and energy levels drop when it gets colder or warmer, or notice a change in your sleeping or eating patterns. But if you are feeling, if you're feeling things are actually interfering with your everyday life, it could be a sign that you have depression. And that if they keep coming back at this time of year, doctors might call this seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression. So like I said, it's a type of depression because the symptoms are usually more apparent during the winter months. However, people can get it in summer at the same time as well. And your symptoms, for example, during the summer, you might feel better or it might feel worse during the winter. So it can affect anybody at different times of the year. And it's essentially the clocks change, we get darker mornings and it starts going darker a lot earlier in the evening as well. The weather's changed from a nice, comfortable weather within summer we have right through to coldness, dark, damp mornings type of thing. So this is what can actually process SAD for you. So as we talk about it, what causes SAD? There are many different factors that cause SAD, and I'm going to pass you over to Rebecca to talk you through this point.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. So, what causes SAD isn't fully understood. So, it can be often linked back to the reduction in the sunlight that we get with the shorter autumn and winter days. The main theory is that that lack of sunlight can stop part of the brain. So, that part of the brain is called the hypothalamus. Easier for some of us to say. And it stops it working properly. And when it stops working properly, this can affect such hormones as the melatonin. And the melatonin is what makes you feel sleepy. So for those of us who have SAD, the body can produce this in higher than normal levels. There's also the production of serotonin that is affected. And this again is another hormone that affects your mood, your appetite, and our sleep. So that lack of sunlight may lead to lower serotonin levels, which is linking that back to that depression. So you'll see those correlations between SAD and depression. And then the body's internal clock as well. So it uses the sunlight to time various important functions. So when we wake up, and the lower levels during the winter can disrupt our bodies, make us want to sleep longer, make us feel more tired. And it's also possible that for some people, can be more vulnerable to it as a result of the genes. and it can run in the family.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot more to this. There's not, like Beck said, there's not actually one theory which defines what SAD is. There are many different theories, but essentially the main one is the lack of sunlight. And we'll talk about through symptoms and SAD and how you can actually get more sunlight in your day during the winter months as we go on in this presentation. So as we think about it, think about SAD, what are the symptoms of SAD? Well, there's many. So lots of different people, lots of different symptoms people have. They can have severe levels of it or low levels of it, but it can really impact people's day-to-day activities, such as feeling lethargic. We usually get the afternoon slump anyway, but essentially if this becomes more of a thing and you feel like napping more regularly on frequent days, this is an aspect of SAD symptoms. You have the loss of pleasure or interest in daily activities. So, for example, because it gets darker, you think, oh, I don't want to go for a walk, I don't want to go for a run, and you stop doing the things that bring you the happiness, the serotonin aspect, if you would. You could be craving more carbs and also gain a lot more weight than you usually do. And there's the other things like having a decreased sex drive and difficulty concentrating. You might have feelings of despair, guilt, or worthlessness, irritability, and you might find yourself sleeping longer or sleeping during the day, which ultimately leads to a low mood. So you might have some of these, but you might have all of them. And every single person is different because we all deal with things differently. But like I said at the start, for some people, these can be really, really severe and really impact their day-to-day life. If you're finding this, the that you a lot of these, you have a lot of these symptoms. There is support out there, and the when we talk about support, there is loads more aspects out there, essentially, for treatment from GPs, but we'll also be touching on things as well that you can actually get for your own self without having to see a medical professional. And Bex, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. So, the different treatments for SAD can vary as Elise just said. So you've got your lifestyle measures. So these can be, natural sunlight. Try and sit next to a window where you can. Open those curtains, open a window. Regular exercise. So try and get out there in the sunlight as well. So try and do this way you can. Now that the clocks have gone back, we've got a little bit more sunlight in the morning to hopefully do that. Or get out if you can on your lunch. We try and put in a lot of classes now on our lunch breaks to get us involved. And then stress levels. So try and minimize them as much as you can. Pop yourself around those people who um are just bigger than life, who are in this situation, not suffering from SAD. Then you've got your talking therapies, so CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. So you've got that aspect as well. Antidepressant medication. So these are serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So these are known as SSRIs. These will be prescribed by the doctor if they feel that they will be productive for the treatment of SAD. And then we've got the light therapy. So this is a box that's used to stimulate exposure to sunlight. So that in layman terms is basically a little box that can be put on your desk that emits what is the brain and body sees as sunlight. And this can give us that idea that we are getting that additional light that we require. So I do have a little bit more information on that as well. So it can improve, it's seen to improve your mood, but it's not certain that it can help everyone. And it's used for about 30 to 60 minutes each morning. It can come in a variety of designs as well. So it can be a desk lamp or wall mounted fixture. And that light can, on these darker mornings, just literally brighten up a room and your mood. So it stimulates the sunlight that's missing during the darker months, and it's thought that it can improve SADS by encouraging your brain to reduce the production of um, melatonin. So that's that hormone that we mentioned earlier, and increase the actual production of serotonin. So sunrise alarm clock can gradually wake you up in the bedroom as well of a morning, which can give you that better idea of, your body waking up naturally.
Yeah. And there's also information there as well, NICE, which is the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. They they say light therapy is a popular treatment for SAD, but it's not clear whether it's actually effective. But you know essentially how your body feels, if that makes sense. But what they also say is that SAD should also be treated in the same way as other types of depression. And this isn't, and Bex mentioned that this is including such things as CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, or medicine, if it comes to that. Um, there are lots of different factors within treatments for SAD. But if you do find your symptoms become more regular or more intense, we recommend seeing your GP. That would be the most suitable treatment program for you. And they can run a few tests, different types of blood test type of thing to ensure you've got the right levels of, say, melatonin or serotonin, that sort of stuff in your blood. There are so many different factors. Again, we've mentioned this, but SAD can affect anybody at any age type of thing. So it can also affect children and young people at the same time. And there's lots of numerical statistics around how much daylight and sun you should be taking in. Um, but like Beck said, stuff to do with your lifestyle measures. So if you're working from home, it's a great opportunity to sit near a window to take as much natural sunlight in as possible. But also getting out there as well. So again, if you are working from home, you're sat down a lot, which allows you to become more in a slump, if you would. And that's that afternoon slump type of thing, what we mentioned earlier. So why not go for a regular walk, set a time, 10 minutes around the block type of thing, take the dog for a walk, and also look to reduce your stress levels at the same time.
Yeah,
But
can
there's,
I just mention as well? Sorry, Lee, I just need
of
to
course, you can, yeah.
pop in here. So along with the GP, speaking to them about your antidepressants as well, and Lee mentioned regarding blood tests, and we have had questions in the past regarding, vitamin D and how much we should be taking of that. It is recommended that we do take a supplement of this, but again, it is really important that we do speak to the GP to make sure that we're not having too much of that because it can become toxic. And back on the light therapy as well, it's really important to note that this isn't suitable for everyone, and even though it might seem harmless, a box that produces light, it can make a big difference to people who have certain medications that are prescribed to them, and it can or who have an increase in their sensitivity to light. Certain antibiotics as well and psychotics can be affected by these light boxes, and even things down to herbal supplements such as John's wort. Um, so it is always really good if you're going to try things such as light boxes or anything new, and you are on medication or you just want to be peace of mind, do run it past your GP.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that should always be your first port of call in a medical situation. And like Nice says, it should be treated as any other depression. So seeing the GP will also eradicate stuff like Bex has just mentioned there. But there's other things you can try as well. Um, I'll let you do this one, Bex.
Thanks. So we can try several other things that can improve our symptoms. So these can, we just mentioned, get as much possible sunlight as we can. So that brief walk on your lunch. Um, we can take plenty of regular exercises, whether you want to do this to, get those daily steps in. You can join certain apps which can get us, having challenges with our co-workers or with, Steve who lives on the other side of the world, get that challenge in there that makes us want to get up and move. We can also do things like eat healthy and a balanced diet, and we all know that it is very difficult to do this, especially when there is sweets everywhere and, those in the emergency services, we get chocolates as a thank you. But if we are able to limit our sugar and caffeine, it can make a big difference on our sad symptoms. If you can, avoid your tobacco, cut back on that, your alcohol, and of course your drugs. Get at least 7 hours of sleep a night if you can, of course. Shift workers, you might find that more difficult, but we do actually have a presentation and a workshop on getting a better night's sleep. So have a look at that on our website. We do mention in there um, how you can work around those shift patterns and when it's best to take that nap and so on. Read a
Yeah.
novel. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go on, Rebecca. I'll let you finish.
Read a novel or some magazines, do things that stimulate, it's things that you find is your happy place, whether it's reading a book, watching your favorite TV program, go out and catch a film with a friend. If you are an animal lover, go for a walk with your dog, or do some volunteering that produces that happy endorphins, and try and have as much fun as you can. I know that's sounds simple, but yeah, just get back into those things that you forgot that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, whilst Rebecca mentions getting out and doing stuff, there's also the opportunity to talk to people as well. So talk to your friends and family about SAD so that they understand why your mood might change during the winter. And this can actually lead them to supporting you more effectively and giving you the right support that you need. Um, there's lots of different talking factors of which you can open up conversations with people. Start off talking about just the general weather, or the weather's changed, or my mood's changing again, and that just leads on to bigger things. But if you feel like you can't talk to your family or your friends, you can see a GP. And we mentioned earlier on um, that you should consider actually speaking to a GP because it's part of the depression category. So getting helping you get a blood test, checking if you've got the right levels of iron or right amount of vitamin D within your system. But it will also help you if you are struggling to cope. So there's many different assessments that GPs and mental health professionals can actually do to aid your mental health. Um, they'll ask you things about your mood, your lifestyle. They might also ask you things about your eating habits, your sleeping patterns, plus also any seasonal changes that happen within your thoughts and behaviour. So, like Bex mentioned earlier on, it's like cutting things out like alcohol or caffeine. We're not saying cut completely, find the level what suits you the best, but lay off continuous use of it, because always relying then for a stimulant doesn't actually always give you the stimulus that you need, type of thing. The serotonin levels, once it wears off, it's gone. So then you have to redo it, and that then can become a problem. There are also different factors as well when you can visit a GP for SAD if you have symptoms. So we mentioned if your symptoms become worse, continuous during the darker months. Um, but there are different aspects of which the GP can help you. So things around psychological assessments to check around your mental health, like your mood, your sleeping patterns, and your eating patterns, your lifestyle aspects about seasonal changes, your thoughts and behaviours. Are you being prevented from carrying out general day-to-day activities? Or is there anything personal in your family history that might contribute to such things as a depressive disorder? So there's also physical examinations that your GP can do as well, but SAD itself can actually be difficult, really difficult to diagnose, because there are so many other types of depression that have that similar symptoms. So it could be some time before you and your GP realise what your symptoms are and that they form in a regular pattern. So trying doing stuff in the meantime will actually help, i.e. the light boxes, going out for a walk, sitting next to a window, and getting as much natural sunlight as possible. Um, and this is the stuff that your GP will tell you as well. But there's also other factors with it as well. So if you are working in really stressful environments, maybe look to make changes around this as well. Um, stressful situations stressful situations can actually really impact SAD, and it can also really be helpful to talk about it with people in work at the same time. But like we said, it can be difficult to diagnose because there are lots of different interactive factors with this. From the depression family, it's kind of like a spectrum and not one size fits all approach, if you would. So doing that and getting a diagnosis, it can be confirmed in lots of different ways. And I bet I'll give you this one.
Yeah, so the getting a diagnosis, it isn't easy. So as you've seen a common theme, the connection and the correlations between SAD and depression are very, very similar. So when you go to your GP, it's good to note things down. Make sure that you can keep a log of things that relate back to SAD. So for example, your symptoms starting in autumn or winter, and do they start to improve in the spring? Your depression occurs at a similar time each year, so the GP will be looking, has this occurs for more than a year or two? So that'll help you with your diagnosis. So also it's like the we say normal depression, but like depression, but it occurs repetitively at particular times of the year, and it gets better. Obviously, when that sun's a bit higher and it shows itself a little more. And then they are your periods of depression are followed by periods without the depression again because that sun is there. And as well as getting support from your family, we mentioned that it can be genetic. Reach out to your work colleagues, reach out to your manager and explain, why these aren't, why you're struggling. They could also pick up on things that you could pop on that document that you can take to your GP to support your reasoning behind why you think you've got SAD.
Yeah. There's lots of also different factors with SAD where we talk about, say, it being depression and part of the spectrum of depression. So, what are the signs and symptoms of depression? Well, there's that many of them. So, again, if we think about the signs of SAD, and interlink that with signs of depression, they all interlink very personable, if you would, feeling irritable, feeling stressed or anxious, loss of pleasure or interest in normal day-to-day activities. You sleep for longer, more than normal. You become less sociable. You're less active than normal. You've got a persistent low mood. You feel lethargic and sleepy during the day, and you find it hard to get up in the morning. You may have a reduced sex drive or difficulty concentrating. You might have an increased appetite or actually reduced appetite. You might have feelings of despair, guilt, and worthlessness, and also low self esteem at the same time. There are different aspects with depression as well. For example, a small number of people experience these symptoms in phases, and these are separated by manic periods where they feel happy, energetic, and more sociable. And like we said, not one shoe fits all with SAD. SAD is very hard to distinguish from general depression, but there are so many different interlinking factors of which SAD can actually come about. And Bex mentioned this in the previous slide. There are so many different factors of which you can start taking note of it. So, are you becoming more irritable as the clocks change, as the winter months come in, as it gets colder? How long does it last for? Do you find yourself having periods of energy, or is it a continuous thing at the same time? And these are really, really, really informative aspects to note. So that essentially brings us to the end of this presentation. We hope you found it useful, and we thought we'd give you a bit of an insight to what SAD is and the aspects around SAD, things like treatment and what you can do to help yourself. Rebecca, do you want to add anything onto this?
Just to add that it doesn't discriminate, it doesn't matter your age, so please keep in mind it can affect young children, not just us adults, and it doesn't discriminate between, age, ethnicity, it is something that can affect everyone. So keep in mind that if somebody you love who is of a younger age or an older age, that these symptoms could be seen and be identified in them as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So this presentation will actually fell part of our Autumn Wellbeing Week, and we do have a really interactive document that we've designed to help you keep well this winter. There's lots and lots of information in there about keeping warm, about getting energy bill support, about having the right levels of medication in your house, prepping for illnesses, winter illnesses, and this Keeping Well This Winter guide will be attached to this video in the description, or it is available on our website with all the rest of the Autumn Wellbeing Week presentations. So if you're watching, thank you very much for getting this far with us. We hope you found it useful. And then if you do have any further queries or questions, there is information available on the NHS website or 111 website. But like we said, if you do feel like you have SAD, best bet is to speak to your GP first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you.